Welcome everyone to our session today on Microsoft Copilot and Excel. Super excited for this topic because it's definitely something that I personally use every single day. And by the way, I'm Jolyn Reen. I'll be your instructor here today. I'm a Microsoft Master, and when I say that I use these applications, I literally open these applications in the beginning of my day and I don't close them till I'm done at the end of the day. And the applications that I'll be referring to today is going to include the Copilot app itself, as well as different ways to access the app, and of course, working with Copilot directly in Excel. You do have a handout available if you want to go ahead and open up that handout. It is available at the icon at the top for your, it looks like a little paperclip icon there. If you want to go ahead and open the handout up, then you can use that to follow along during the session, or you can use it as a reference tool for later as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the questions section and we'll have a little bit of time left at the end. Otherwise, we will make sure that your questions do get answered. We will respond back to you with those. Okay, but we have so much to cover. I want to go ahead and get started. So, a couple of things that I wanted to start with today is some benefits of using AI in Excel. So, first off, what exactly is AI? Well, AI, of course, is artificial intelligence, which Microsoft's version of AI is called Copilot. Copilot is a way that we can analyze information that we have in Excel, but the benefits of using any AI tool, no matter which application you're using, or if you're just in Chat GPT or other applications like that, is it helps us to increase efficiencies. You're going to see that definitely here today with the examples that I'll be going through with you, but it also improves accuracy. I'll definitely show you some of that as well. And strong decision making is another feature that we have with AI here in Excel. You'll see examples of that as well. Scalability. When we're working with large amounts of data, it's not always easy to hone in and find information. So you're going to see examples of how quickly and easily that Copilot can actually find information and analyze it for us and bring back an answer to whatever it is that we ask very quickly. So it is user friendly because it basically works the same in all of your Microsoft 365 apps. So if you're in Excel and working with Copilot, it opens on the right hand side. If you open it in Outlook, you open it in PowerPoint, it opens it on the right hand side and is very consistent on the way that it looks and the way that it works. So it's super easy to pick up on how you can use it. But one of the things that we want to kind of think about is, how in your organization are you going to take advantage of using Copilot? We can use it in Excel for financial analysis. We can use it for analyzing data for different markets. We can use it for sales forecasting. Inventory management is a very common option as well. And we use it a lot for HR and educational purposes. So, and some of this is laid out for you in your handout. So you can refer back to that to see what are some additional options that we have available. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into using Microsoft Copilot. So first off, I'm actually going to be starting in the Copilot app itself, um, because we can use Excel features directly through the Copilot app. But where do you go to get the Copilot app? Well, you have multiple ways to get to it. One way is going to be to go to your Microsoft account online. From here, you can see on the left-hand side, I have my Copilot app. So I can simply open Copilot directly from here. When I do that, if I had a previous conversation going on, we would see that previous conversation, or I could start a new conversation with Copilot by going to the top right and clicking on the little icon. Now, I'll explain this a little bit better here in just a moment, but there are other ways because am I always on the internet? Am I always in my internet browser? No, I'm not. A lot of times for me, I'm in Microsoft Teams. I'm in Teams all day long. So if I'm in Microsoft Teams and I'm looking at previous, chats, I'm doing whatever, I can simply open Copilot by going to the left-hand side. When I click my Copilot icon, I'm basically getting almost identical to what it is that you saw when I opened the app from my online account. But I can also do the same thing through Outlook. So if I go to Microsoft Outlook, on the left-hand side, I'm going to have a shortcut to Copilot there as well. And it's going to open and look the same as what you're seeing if I do it through Microsoft Teams. So we've got a lot of consistency when we are using this application. Now, just to explain a couple of things, and I'm just going to jump back to the internet one. Um, but when you are using Copilot app, one of the things to point out is Microsoft has recently done some new branding. Microsoft is always making improvements, making everything better, more efficient, easier for us to use, those kind of things. And one of the things that they've done recently is trying to make things more consistent from one application to another. And they've rebranded the logo and stuff. So you're going to see my logo up at the top does say Copilot, and it's got the new icon with the 365. But one of the things, no matter where you're using Copilot from, is at the very top, we have a button for work versus web. If I want to just search the internet for information about whatever it is I'm looking for, how to do data validation, how to use flash fill, how to use the X lookup, whatever the case would be, I can slide my button over to the web. And what happens when you do that is it's going to automatically be searching the internet for the information and the actual AI tool. So, what that means for us is when we look at these prompt suggestions, these are going to be related directly to searching the internet. But notice if I click back on work, it changes the suggested prompts to be related to working through my Microsoft 365 account. And that's where I tend to use it the most, is because I need to analyze what is going on in other areas. So I could be asking Copilot different information like, how about I put in down at the chat at the bottom, I put in, did I send an email with an Excel attachment? Oops, I have to spell that correctly. Attachment last week. I can ask questions like that of Copilot, and it goes out to my 365 account and analyzes all my information. So it's coming back. I checked all your sent emails from last week and found that none of them included an Excel attachment. So pretty cool that I have the capability of doing that without me having to go back to Outlook and do that searching myself. Copilot can do that searching for me. So we can use this app to really take advantage of whatever it is we need to find information on without having to do a lot of extra work. Here's another example. I'm going to go into this chat again. Sorry about that. I put my screen too far over to the left. I'm going to put this question in. Do I have an Excel workbook with 2024 sales data? Instead of me going and searching through File Explorer to try and find that information, if I'm already in Copilot and I'm working on some other things, I might as well just ask Copilot. Plus, the best thing is, I'm not going to get a response like this if I'm doing a search in, File Explorer or someplace else to try and find this information. Look how quick it was analyzing all of my cloud-based storage locations, my OneDrive, my SharePoint, my Teams, searched through everything. And not only did it say, here's what I found, but it's actually giving me access to the files, giving me a breakdown. So the sales data, this file includes monthly sales figures, material costs, etc. It's giving me a description of it. So I never use File Explorer anymore. I don't know about you, but I've actually changed my habits of how I'm actually doing things. all because of Copilot. So Copilot is really, and I get the shivers kind of thinking about this, but it is truly a Copilot. It is the assistant that I couldn't have even dreamed of having. It does more than I could ever imagine. But let me give you a couple of other examples of how you could actually take advantage of using the app within Copilot for Excel features. So did I share? So I need to know if I had shared an Excel workbook with anybody in the past couple of months. So I'm going to ask Copilot if I did. So, yes, could I go someplace else and search for that information? Absolutely. But why would I when I can just be asking Copilot for that information instead? So it came back and said, yes, you shared an Excel workbook in at least 4 emails over the past 2 months. Now, I didn't have any emails that I shared workbooks over the past week or whatever I asked earlier, but these are over the past few months. So it's even giving me links to the emails themselves and the actual files. So it's pretty great that we get this type of a very quick response, and it is looking at all of your things in your 365 account. Now, I could go on with different examples, but let me give you just one more for right here inside the application, because this is actually something I just recently did. So, what Excel workbooks did I modify last week? I want to just get a quick rundown of that. Could I go to my recent and, filter by, in OneDrive, in SharePoint, I could filter by, the date and things like that. Or, look at my recent and say, I just want Excel. There's other ways I could do that, but this is so much easier, and the response that I get is terrific. So what it's actually showing me is not only a link to the specific files, but it's also giving me a description of those actual files. So I can't say enough about using the Copilot app, even all by itself, because I could always transition and say, I want to go to the web. These were all related to my work account, my 365 account. But if I go to the top and I click web, what if I need to find out some information about Excel? So I could come in and type in whatever it is I'm looking for about using Excel, how to create VBA code in Excel. By the way, I used to do VBA code. I don't anymore. I have Copilot do it for me. So I just tell it what it is that I want the code to do, and it will automatically create it for me. Now, it sounds like cheating, but I got to tell you, it's so much easier because I'm not a programmer, nor do I want to be a programmer, but I need code sometimes. So I can have Copilot help me with those types of situations. And I've even had it take a look at existing code. I had an error and I couldn't figure out where the error was coming from. I had Copilot look it over for me, and it helped me to figure out what was wrong. So I'm going to tell you, well, of course, it can't dive too deep because it doesn't understand some things, but I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't have been able to figure it out, or I would have been racking my brain forever trying to figure it out. But I had Copilot help me with it instead. But as you can see, it's giving me some information, the results back on here step by step on how to create VBA code, even talks about customizing the ribbon and putting the developer tab on there, just giving you a very quick message box saying, hello, this is my first VBA macro. It can really give us instructions and examples, because the best part about this is it doesn't stop the conversation there. Notice at the bottom, it's even giving me suggested prompts based on my original conversation with it. Can you show me more examples? How to debug VBA code? What are the common VBA functions used? We could ask it for VBA shortcuts and, the best way to structure, and should I be putting comments? There's anything and everything that really can be asked, and it's going to continue that conversation, which to me is fantastic because I may not always know, what else should I be asking? It's going to help us to do that, not only here, but in Excel as well. So not just here in the app. And by the way, just to point out a couple of other things before I transition from the app to Excel, on the right-hand side, I'm not sure if you've heard this term yet, but you're going to be hearing a lot of it from Microsoft, but it's a feature called agents. Agents are, I call them an assistant to Copilot, where we can add in these additional tools to even help us further with using Copilot features. It can give us, we can even build it to say, if somebody asks this type of a question, here's the suggested prompts they should get. So one of these days, probably coming up this fall, we'll do a session on agents so that we can get a better idea overall how Copilot agents can help us in all of our different applications and even outside of your normal, Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, etc. But it's super exciting. And I just wanted to point that out because that's on your right-hand side. But also what you're going to find on the right-hand side is the history of your previous chats. I was doing a session the other day on I was helping them migrate from um, Office 2010 into Microsoft 365, and I wanted to find out some specific features and how I could kind of lay things out. And just so you know, Copilot helped me with all of that. And it gave me some insight as to what I should be kind of showing them because I haven't been in 2010 in forever. So, anyway, just wanted to point out a couple of things related to using the app. But let's actually dive into using Copilot directly within Excel. So, when you come into an Excel workbook, the first thing that you're going to notice, which sometimes can be a little bit annoying, I'll put it that way, is every time you click on a cell, you're going to see the Copilot app, the Copilot icon, I should say, not app, the Copilot icon. But the Copilot icon in all of your Microsoft 365 apps is also located on the Home tab of the ribbon on the right-hand side. So we have different ways that we can access it. And I was actually telling Taylor before we started the session here today that I did an update in the past couple of days. Actually, it was yesterday. I did an update to my 365 account, and a brand new feature showed up that was related to using Copilot. So I was super excited about it because it in the past was only available in the online version of Excel, but now available in the desktop. So before we end today, I'll show you what that new feature is. So just keep in mind things change on a regular basis. But one of the things that is kind of cool is some people are annoyed by it, like I said, but when you click on a cell, the Copilot icon is right there to help you. Just so you know, if you go to that Copilot icon, when you click on it, you have different choices as to what can you do with the information within your worksheet. So whatever sheet you're on, what you want to do before you actually use the Copilot tools is make sure you're clicked on a cell within your range of data. Copilot has improved, of course, since it was released. Everything used to it was required, I should say, to have things within a table so that Copilot understood your range of data. Now we just have to have the range really defined as a range, meaning we want to have the headings across the top of your range of data, and you don't want any separation of your information like empty columns, empty rows, and ex- Excel Copilot will automatically recognize that as a range and it will analyze the data within that range automatically, which is pretty cool that it does that. So, like I said, they always are improving. But what do we get when we go to that icon? Why is it there? Why is it so important for us to understand? Well, it allows us to dig deeper into our analysis of our data by using Python. Also, it could suggest a formula column. So it can analyze your data and suggest a formula, adding in a new column of data based on your existing information. It can suggest conditional formatting. So if you're not familiar with conditional formatting, it's based on the data that is in your cells. It can analyze that data and put formatting on cells based on a condition. great way to be able to utilize Copilot, which of course we'll see demonstrations of these, but it also can summarize your information in a pivot table and or charts as well. I use that pretty regularly. Not that it's difficult anymore to create a pivot table, but why won't I just ask Copilot to do it for me instead of me having to do it? That's where some of these efficiencies come into play. We want to look for the things that are going to be time savers. And it can teach me something about Excel. So this is a great little shortcut to getting into features directly related with working with Copilot in Excel. But if you're a little annoyed by that icon showing up every time you click on a cell, no worries. We do have a choice down at the bottom, hide until I reopen this document. So while you're actively working on this workbook, it can hide that command, that icon, but the next time you reopen it, it will be back again. But once again, you can always go back in and hide it. Because yes, we could simply be using the Copilot pane on the right-hand side directly to do these same things. But let's take a look at how this could actually work for you. I'm going to choose the suggest a formula column as my first example. It's going to analyze my range of cells that my active cell is within. It opens up the Copilot pane on the right-hand side, and as you notice, it's automatically looking at my range of cells. That's why it's important to make sure that that range is accurate. It's highlighting it as it's analyzing it, and it's actually coming back with suggestions that I may not have thought of with my range of data, which is pretty cool that it can do that. But anyway, what you're going to see is it's coming back and it says, let me scroll down here a little bit. Sorry about that. Looking at this range, here's one formula column to recommend an insert into column K. It says days to ship. It can calculate the number of days it takes for an order to be shipped by subtracting the order date from the ship date. So the worksheet that I'm on is a bunch of company orders. It's got that order date column, it's got the ship date column, and boy, that would be a great column to be adding in. All I have to do is it's showing me the actual formula that it would do. So I can confirm that, yes, this is what I want. All I have to do is click insert column and it's going to automatically insert that into column K for me and automatically give me the results. So pretty awesome that it could do that. Now I could have done that just by going to Copilot. On the right hand side, I didn't have to use the icon on a cell because when you open up this Copilot pane, it has different prompt suggestions. So what you're seeing is it says create formulas, understand where it can summarize your data and pivot tables. It's got deep, more advanced analysis that it can do with Python, apply color and formatting capabilities. I could simply just ask Copilot some information, and I could ask it on how to do something within Excel as well. So down at the very bottom, just so you can kind of see some additional features, it also gives you chat history. So if you have been doing chats within this workbook and this worksheet, you can go back to the chat history and it's giving you additional insights. So every time that you ask it for information, whatever, it's going to give you additional suggestions based on that current conversation that you're having with Copilot. So pretty cool that it does that. But at the very bottom is the actual conversation box where that's where we can be asking Copilot different information. But we don't have to just type it in there. We have a microphone. We can actually talk to it as well. So, like, let's say that I need to know which product took the longest to ship. I'm going to come down into the typing area. I just clicked my cursor in there, and I'm going to use the microphone to ask that. Which product took the longest to ship? Okay, it did not hear me very well, so let me just type it in. I'm going to say, which product took the longest to ship? We can be, instead of me having to dive in and try and filter and sort and do all kinds of data analysis with my information, if I just want to ask it a simple question, especially what if I'm in a meeting with a group of people and we're looking at all these orders, talking about what's going on and, what's the most common product that people are purchasing, whatever the case might be. Copilot can do all that analysis for us. All we have to do is put in what is the question. So somebody in the meeting asks a question, we're just going to ask Copilot to help us figure that out. So it's going to come back and show us exactly how it's going to figure this out. And if I wanted to actually apply this, I could. So to find the product that took the longest to ship, I would recommend creating a formula, blah, blah, blah. So it's actually showing me what we could do to actually get the answer to that. But let me ask it another question, and I won't do the microphone because that was taking a little bit too long. Um, I have so many things I want to show you. I don't want to be impatient on it, but let me show you a different option that we have. So maybe I want to say which company bought the most products in second quarter of 2024. So if somebody asks that question, how are you going to get the answer to that? Well, of course, there's different ways that we could get that answer. I could be doing a subtotal. Actually, I would probably create a pivot table, but we have other ways that we could do it. But if I just want to know the answer, I don't need to store it someplace. I'm just going to ask Copilot to give me that answer. So it only took a second for it to do it, but it's actually a company called Quickstop, and they had 1,102 different products. Now, of course, I could dig deeper because it's giving me additional suggestions at the bottom. Get a deeper analysis with Python. Which company bought the fewest products in second quarter of 2024? If I want to see the list of the top companies by product purchases in the second quarter of 2024, I have that I could do as well. I don't have to type it in. I just click on it and Excel using Copilot is automatically going to analyze that for me. It is becoming so smart on the responses that we get because, yes, AI is a human like response. So it's analyzing what we originally said and saying, I think you might want to know this further information as well. So it's going to give us those suggested prompts to continue that conversation, which is absolutely fantastic that it's doing that. But you can see that it came back with the answer, the top 5 companies, blah, blah, blah. So it's giving me this information and it wants to know, do I want to add that to a new sheet? Now, what exactly is it going to do? Well, let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and click on the results of that analysis, click on add as a new sheet, and I will get a brand new worksheet with the results of that question, and it came out as a pivot table. So when I click on that result, it automatically is doing that summarization for me, basically on a different sheet. I don't have to worry about, you know, copying and pasting it or doing anything like that. It automatically gave that to me. But let's take this a little bit further with a few other examples of what it is that we could do with Copilot. So another option that I use on a pretty regular basis is, what if I only want to see orders that were placed in USA? I could put that in as my chat. So I wanted to filter by country for USA. I'll just put it in as brief as that and see what it comes back with for a response. Filter by country for USA. So it's analyzing, always telling you this is the range of data that I'm analyzing. And it says, sure, do you want me to apply that? And it's showing me exactly what it's going to do. I click apply and it will automatically apply it. I like the fact that it shows you the results first so you can confirm that that's correct. Make sure that it understood what you were looking for it to do, because we don't want to get wrong results and have it just automatically assume what we wanted and just apply it. I like that it gives us the option to, yes, this is what it is, and I want to apply. So it automatically applied that filter based on USA. Now let's say that maybe I also need to find some further information. And what if I want to sort this results by salesperson? I could tell it to do that. So sort by salesperson. And by the way, I'm giving it the name of the column so that it understands exactly what it is that I'm asking it to do. So we can have it filter, we can have it sort. Yes, some of these things, of course, are things that you personally could do, but most of the time I'm just talking to it. I know it wasn't working real quick when I was on this call with you, but I got to tell you, I just talk to it all the time. It makes it so much easier. Now, once again, it's giving me that result, and I can go ahead and click apply so that I can have it sort that information for me. So these are some everyday things that I am using Copilot for. Now, they may seem like, why would I do that when I can do that myself? Those kind of things. It's going to be up to you. But just so you know, you can have Copilot automatically do this. Now, of course, I could go to my data tab of the ribbon and I could simply, turn the filters off, or I could clear my filter. I could do all of that myself. But if I'm just gonna, I'm mentally saying it, I might as well say it out loud and just have it typed into Copilot. That's my philosophy on it. It's like, if I'm gonna say it in my head anyway, I might as well be saying it directly to Copilot and have it do that information for me. So we can be asking it questions. We can be having it perform actions for us, sorting, filtering, those kind of things. But, what if I need to know product information? Like, what if I need to know which product actually sold the most? And I could do it based on, of course, a time period, but it's just amazing what it can pull out. Now, just so you know, this isn't a huge amount of data. It's really only almost 1,500 rows of data. But imagine if you had 100,000 rows of records. It is going to really be your assistant on being able to analyze that data so much easier. So anyway, it came back and told me which product, and it's telling me the quantity that was ordered for that. So I use this all the time when I'm in meetings because we're always asking specific questions. And I remember being in meetings before Copilot, and we would have to, oh, now how do I do that again? How do I get that information? What's going to be my quickest way to find that data? We don't have to do all that. We don't have to worry about any of that. We can simply talk to Copilot and have it do it for us, or like I said, physically typing it in. And a lot of times for me, people, if I'm doing a meeting like this and they're putting something in the chat asking these questions, I'll just copy and paste it directly within the search to make it much easier. So another example is, let's say that I need to know based on which product had the highest sales in the first quarter of 2024, or I could be talking about if I had 2025 data, whatever the case would be. I could put that in and it will automatically analyze the results of that. So just so you're really seeing the power of what Copilot really can be doing with just simply being asked questions about our data. So it's going to come back and give me the results of that. If I want to add it to a new sheet, I can add the results. But otherwise, sometimes I just need to see the results. I don't always need to have it physically stored somewhere. Sometimes I just want to see it. Okay. So anyway, let me give you a few other examples of how we could actually be utilizing Copilot within Excel. Another one that I use is combining data together. So let's say that I'm on this worksheet that I have here called dates, and I need to combine together the first name and the last name of each of these employees. So I just want to be on a cell within my range of data, and I can simply say, add a new column that combines the first and the last columns. And what if I wanted to change it to be proper casing? Let's see if it will be able to do all of that. So let me go ahead and put it in the search. And I'm going to say that, oops, sorry, there it is. Oops, I added that twice. Totally me. Sorry. Let me just get rid of that here real quick. I should be selecting it. Use my efficiencies. So add a new column that combines the first and last columns because that's the names of them. and changes the text to proper casing. Let's see if it will do that for us. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter. Let's see what our results might end up being. Now, of course, if you're familiar with other features that we have, I could manually be doing this, typing in the result of what it is that I want and using the flash fill feature. But why do I want to manually have to start it and then go to the data tab and click on flash fill? Instead, I can simply have, and I'm going to say insert column, I can simply have Copilot do it for me. So it automatically went to the end of the last column of data and inserted the new column, and it named it full name. So it combined the first and the last names together, and it did the proper casing. Now, of course, if you're familiar with flash fill, I could have done that as well, or I could have created this formula. If you look at the results on the right-hand side, it's actually showing you the formula. So the formula would have been combining together the two cells and using the proper function. So if I click on any of these results, it's doing the actual formula, which is very beneficial to have the formula as opposed to using the flash fill feature, because flash fill is only as good as it was when you filled it. If somebody has a change to their information, instead of Decker, the last name is supposed to be Becker, it's going to automatically update because it's a formula instead of the flash fill. So sometimes great features like flash fill, but isn't always the most appropriate way to be doing things. We want to find the efficiencies. Okay. So anyway, it can combine information. It could also pull information out of a cell. It can do all kinds of things, like take the last four digits out of column G and place it in the extension column. Same things that flash fill could be doing. So you got to kind of test the system to see what can it do and what can't it do. The other day I tested it to see if Copilot could add a new sheet for me. Just say add a new sheet and call it whatever. It can't do certain things yet, but I'm sure Microsoft is probably working on that. They are very dedicated to working with AI tools in all of our 365 apps. Microsoft's dedication to that is for this entire year, that's their biggest thing. I don't know if you've watched any NBA playoff games or anything like that, you're going to see Copilot everywhere. I see it as advertisement on the court and in the background, those kind of things. It's pretty amazing the commitment that Microsoft has to this. But let's take this further and talk about a few other things that we could be doing. So, a lot of times for me, I need conditional formatting. So, I'm going to go to the employee departments worksheet, and I want to have anytime that it says the word accounting in the department column, I want it to be formatted in a specific font color or a fill color, whatever the case might be. So I'm going to go to my search on the, and by the way, just so you know, I could also scroll up to the top of this chat window and use my suggested prompts that I had at the very beginning, because one of this is apply color and formatting. So I could click on that to get started, where it's going to give me the text, highlight all cells with the accounting in the department column in a green cell fill color. Now that's probably more than I needed to give it, but that was my thought process when I was typing it in, so I'll just go with it. By the way, it is getting better on the prompts. Even if I misspell something, it understands what I'm trying to say anyway. But it's also getting better in the respect that we don't have to be as detailed as we used to. It's not like talking to, the owner of a company. We're talking to Copilot, so we don't have to be as formal. But just so you're going to see, it came back and it says, sure, looking at this column, blah, 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 I would apply this formatting to that column. All I have to do is click apply. If that's correct, I wanted to apply it, it will go ahead and apply that. So it's applying the changes to that range of data for me. So there's so many different things that it can be doing. So that was just one brief example. Now, of course, could I have done that manually? Absolutely. But like I said, if I'm saying it in my head, I might as well just talk to Copilot and tell it to do it instead of just in my head as I apply it myself. I'd rather have Copilot do it. But let's say that I need to know the top 25% of the salaries I want to actually have highlighted in a green fill color. So I'm going to say highlight cells in the salary column that are the top 25% in a green color. I'll just say green color. So hopefully it understood what I just said. Sometimes I say it weird, but it still figures out what I was trying to say. It's pretty good at kind of reading through the lines as I talk to it. But you can see that it came back and it says, sure, here's what I'll do, blah, blah, blah. If I want to apply that, I click apply and it will automatically do that. Then I could say, well, what about the bottom 25%? Maybe I want those in red. So I could simply go back and say, highlight the bottom 25, I have to type that correctly, bottom 25% in red. So I didn't tell it exactly, I didn't say the sales column or anything. So let's see what it comes back with. So I can see that it's analyzing the whole thing and it's coming back and it's saying the bottom 25% conditional formatting rule. I'm going to go ahead and click apply. It's also giving me a few other things that were on there, but just so you could see, it didn't understand what I said. So it actually went to the record column. So it went to the very first column. So because of the fact that I didn't specify the salary column, it didn't apply it the way that I wanted it to. But the best part is there's an undo. So on the right-hand side, I can go back and click undo and it will undo that last action. So that's where we still have to give it enough information so that it understands what it is that we're trying to have it do. Okay. So it it does things great, but we still have to sometimes can't assume it understands everything. I mean, it's pretty good, but it can't do everything. But let me show you another example. So let's say that I want to create a formula. And I want to have a formula that is going to be, and I'm going to go back to company orders for this example. I want to have it add a new column and create a formula that is going to be based on um, giving a discount based on the extended price. Okay, so let's say that I want to have adding a new column that shows a 10% discount on the extended price. So let me go ahead and put that into my search. I'm going to go ahead and press enter. So add a new column that shows a 10% discount on the extended price. So it's going to analyze my data. It's going to find that extended price column because this time I included the name of the column, which is very essential, of course, to using this appropriately. It's going to come back and show me what exactly it would do. If that's what I want, I can automatically insert that column. So I'm going to go ahead and say insert the column, and it will insert the column based on the formula that I had told it. Now, just so you know, I could take that further. And I could have said, and it, by the way, it's giving me, suggested prompts, show a suggestion for a formula column or suggestions for more insight, etc. But I could have taken this a little bit further and said, give me a new column that will be 10% of the extended price if the quantity was 70 or more. If it were 70 or less, they get a 5% discount. So just so you know, I could even have it do that. Or what if I needed to know how would I create a formula like that? So how to create a formula to give me the A 10% discount for orders that were high in the orders from the I've got to say this a little bit differently, sorry. From the quantity column that are over 70. I'll just say that for right now because I was getting very wordy. I normally would have talked to it, just so you know, because it's so much easier than me trying to type this in. And you can see that things can happen very quickly. So it's coming back and it's saying it's looking at that range of data and you could use an if function. So it's coming back and saying, okay, based on the description you gave me, you could use an if function to do that. And it's going to give me an example of how it could be done. So I don't have to go to the internet and search for that anymore. Where if I don't know for sure which function I should use to get an answer, I use Copilot to do that for me now. It is so quick and so responsive that for me, I have no other way that I would ever want to do it. Why not take advantage of what Copilot's going to give us? So anyway, it's coming back and it's saying, here's what the formula could be. So it's a little bit slower because of the fact that I'm on this call as well. So it's kind of eating up my resources a little bit. But just so you know, it's coming back and giving me the answer, giving me the results of what it is that we could do for something like that. And that is pretty amazing. Okay. So anyway, just so you can see, you can use it to help you build formulas. So how would I build this formula? We can say, create a new column with this formula. Whatever it is that you need, kind of be thinking about what type of information do you need to get out of your range of data. Try it with Copilot. Do what you normally would manually look on the ribbon and try and figure out on your own. Let Copilot do that work for you. I mean, it can be as simple as saying, apply bold to all of the cells that, have the letter P in it. Whatever your case might be, really Copilot can actually do pretty much anything. But let's take this a little bit further and talk about how it can actually work with pivot tables. So a lot of times we want to use Copilot to create charts. We want to use it to create pivot tables, those types of things. It can do whatever it is that we really need it to do. So one of the examples could be, let's say that I want to have, sorry, I don't want to click on that cell, that range of cells, just click on any cell. I want it to create a report to show the fourth quarter sales in 2024 with the salesperson and extended price. We'll see what it comes back with. So whatever it is that you think of that you need to see, you want to be able to analyze, or you need to show somebody else, just have Copilot do it because it's going to give you the best result of how would you do this? How would you get that answer? So it's going to come back and it's going to say, okay, I analyzed the data and here's what I found. Here's the results of what it is. And of course, it's giving you a little bit of a description. I could do deeper analysis on this, but what if I want to add this to a new sheet? All I do is click on add to new sheet and it will automatically add that to a new sheet. So you can see it's very quick and very intuitive as to what your data is and what it can actually give us for results. Now, of course, what if I wanted to create a chart based on this results? I could go back to Copilot and ask it to create a chart, create a column chart based on, I don't even have to say based on this data. I'm just going to say create a column chart. I'm already clicked on the range of cells, so it will understand exactly what it is that I'm asking it to do. So there isn't a lot of limitations that it's going to have. Yes, there are still a few things that Microsoft is working on that Copilot is not going to be able to do, but the things it can do, I don't worry about those other things that it can't do because there's so much I'm using it for already. Okay, so it's coming back and it's saying to create this column on this data in table 3, select the range. So it's giving me the instructions on how I could actually do this, but it can also do it for me when it's done. Sorry, I know it's a little bit slow, but just so you can see how that could actually work. Now I'm actually going to jump back to that. Once it's done here, I'm going to jump back to that company orders and ask it to do a couple of other things for us, pivot table related, but I'm going to actually do it a little bit different of a way. So I'm not going to wait for that to get back the results here, but just so you can see, I'm back into the company orders and I don't even really need to go to Copilot to have it do data analysis. If you are on the home tab of the ribbon, we have next to the Copilot icon, we have this option here called Analyze Data. Analyze Data automatically opens a new pane on the right-hand side, and it's going to give you suggestions on different pivot tables and or charts that you could actually be using related to your information, and it's actually using Copilot to do this. So when I see this, it says ask a question about your data. It would be using Copilot to do that. The suggested questions would be the percent of total on the discount, show the total discounted price, blah, blah, blah. It's giving me suggestions on inserting a pivot table, inserting charts. So if I wanted to see, and by the way, down at the bottom, as I'm scrolling down, there are show all 18 results. It came up with 18 different suggestions of what it could do based on this range of data. I might not have thought of 18 things myself, but once I start looking at it, it's like, oh, that's actually a great one. I'd love to show that. If I'm creating a dashboard for my information and things like that, this is going to be the way I'm going to do that. So anyway, just so you can see if I decide that I want to use any of these, I just go to insert pivot table or insert pivot chart, and it will automatically create that for us, putting it in a new sheet. So we can automatically have that information. So I just think that Copilot has gone above and beyond already with its capabilities. They are adding and improving all the time. It's amazing when I look at what's coming up for Copilot in all of our apps, but I use it a lot here in Excel. Seriously, I'm in it all the time. Every day I'm using Copilot here in Excel, but there is a new feature that I mentioned at the beginning that I want to make sure that you understand as well. Copilot can actually do data cleanup. So let's say that I am in let's see, do I have a good workbook for this? Yes, let's say that I'm on this employee department information and I need to make sure that this data is clean data. We actually have new ways to actually do that that just came out. If I'm within this range and I need to make sure my data is accurate, especially before I analyze it. I just exported this information out of my AS400 or whatever the case might be, and I need to make sure this data is accurate before I run the reports. I need to clean it up first. You can open a workbook and now have a message underneath the ribbon at the top that tells you if any of your sheets need to be cleaned up, whether it's consistency on the formatting, you have duplicate records, those kind of things. It's now available on the data tab of the ribbon as well. So if I click on a range of cells, I can go to this in the data tools group. I can click clean up data or clean data. It's not clean up, but it's going to use Copilot to do that. So it says no clean data suggested for this worksheet. If I want to learn more about it, I can, or I can simply go down to the bottom and say, tell us what you think about data cleanup. Or I could go to Copilot and ask it to do something for me. So I can give it feedback because this is a relatively new feature. But most of the time, as soon as you open the workbook, it's going to automatically do that for you. But mine didn't find something. Now, I'm not sure why it didn't find this, but I believe, let me kind of look at this. Yes, I believe I have some duplicates within this employee data. So somebody entered people in there twice, and I'm not going to get good results on my data analysis if I keep it this way. I could simply go back to Copilot again. Once again, I could use the icon from anywhere, from my cell, or go back to Copilot here. And I'm going to say remove duplicate records. It's going to analyze my data and look for those duplicates and give me my results back. And then of course, I can have it apply it as well. But it's going to understand the data, and it's actually telling me I can't help with this. I know it does this. I don't know why it's not, because I just used it a couple of days ago. Actually, it was last week. I asked it to do that, and it actually showed me the records that were duplicates. Now, it can be because of the way I just asked it. Um, I could have said, look at the, look for duplicate record number, employee ID, etc., how you normally would do in the remove duplicates. But just so you know, it actually can do a lot of that analysis for us. But I got to tell you, I absolutely love on the data tab that we now have that cleanup option, because it has helped me with dates being weird. I had mix matched, and it's helped me with so many different things that I otherwise may not have noticed. But don't use Copilot until you know you have accurate data, because you're not going to get the right results out if we don't. Okay.